streamer for video games.
Oh yeah.
So you can go in his room, every inch of his wall is covered in those black panels. Mm-hmm. His walls are all wavy. Somerton Man?
Yeah, there's a story about that guy I didn't know about, but if you Google it later, it's kind of a crazy story. Some guy, they found his body in Australia where all the labels ripped off of him, all his IDs were missing, and all this other stuff. It's a crazy story.
Oh, shit. Let's do that one. Mayonnaise. No, it wasn't. And there's one I had called Solarized Double IPA. To this day, it's the best IPA I've ever had.
Really?
But they don't sell it here. You have to order it. Yeah. I did not know there's estrogen in IPAs.
Welcome to another podcast. It's another episode of Potatoes Over Roses. I'm Nick, your host. Today we have Tyler Gowie. Today we're drinking a couple of different things, but I went to Growler Guys in Lake City, just throwing it out there. Today we're drinking beer from Mirage called the Somerton Man. If you don't know the story, go Google it because it's kind of crazy. It is a Northwest style IPA brewed with Citra hops, Incognito, double dry hopped, Galaxy and Cascade Lupomax. I don't know that one. I don't know Lupomax. Here, go ahead. Here,
I don't either.
Oh shit.
I like it.
It looks nice. It's nice and hazy. I'm a big hazy guy. Let's give it a shot, would we? Shall we? Let's hear your best slurp.
Oh god. Yeah.
I mean, that sounded like foam, but yeah.
It was a lot of foam, but I got some beer in there. It was good.
All right. You know what? That's actually pretty good.
Right?
I've noticed some beers slurp are different than others.
They do some
like
slurping.
the texture.
Oh yeah.
Also, this is really low carbonation.
It is.
I didn't expect that. It's not like anything crazy. It's a pretty mellow IPA actually. It's not overly bitter, not overly hoppy.
Yeah, the hops are low.
I mean, I can definitely taste the Citra hops. So you're not an apprentice?
No. So in our union, so Local 46 for IBEW, we have.
Well, hold on. What's IBEW? Explain that first. People don't know what that is.
So it's the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and so it's pretty much nationwide. There's different locals throughout all the majority of all the states. I'm pretty sure it's all the states, but not every one of the locals recognize my position, which is a stockman. Some people might know it as a material handler. So what we do is we do all the ordering, the receiving, the forklift work. Essentially, we're laborers, but not really.
You're fancier.
We're fancier laborers, and so we're separate. So it's not like I know with the plumbers, they have their helpers. So the helpers, they become a helper to become an apprentice, and it's like that little grace period, and then they'll take like 3 helpers, I think, how it works. Yeah. And then they become apprentices, and then they go on to greener pastures.
You really have to work your way up, don't you?
And
electricians,
yeah, with the apprenticeship, there's 5 years of schooling, and it's like I think they made it 4 now, and then it's 1 day of school a week, and then I don't know a lot about the schooling yet because I never paid attention to it. Mm-hmm. Because with stockmans, we just do our thing. There's no schooling.
There's no schooling at all?
There's no schooling for a stockman.
Is there different pay grades or anything like that with stockman?
Yeah, so we have 4. So you start at stockman 1, which is to get your first raise. It's like 2,000 hours. So, it's a little over a year.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. And the starting pay is okay. It's like, I think it's like 16 now. When I started, it was like 13.
Wow.
Maybe 12. It was low. It was low when I first started for what it is. It's a lot of heavy lifting. But when you journey out, so we have a journeyman, which is essentially a stockman 4 or tier 4. You can call it tier 4. That's 7,000 hours, and that's 3.5 years, depending with overtime and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then so you journey out after like essentially 4 tiers.
Wow.
And you can stay that. You have your own retirement, just like the electricians, health insurance, all that.
And you can just keep doing that.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of lifers. There's a couple of lifers stockmen.
And that's fascinating. You know what I mean? Like, so many people out there think electricians are just one kind of electrician, but I didn't even know the whole numbering system until this week.
Yeah.
I was listening to some guys doing comp cleanup.
Mm-hmm. Like the apprentices, like 1s, 2, 3, and essentially like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because there's like 01s and then the half watts and
06s and stuff like that. Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know anything about that.
It's still confusing me sometimes. I still hear something I didn't know before, and I'm like, That's a thing.
So I mean, like, what's the benefit about being a stockman versus like just jumping into electrician? Like, I mean, obviously, it's a lot less, education needed, and you can work right away in the field. But
So
like pros and cons, and
so definitely the pro, and this is where a lot of people have bad opinions about it, and the trade is if a kid fresh out of high school with no construction experience goes in to be an apprentice, and they pass the aptitude test, which is a comprehension and math test to see if essentially you're smart enough to do their schooling. Which so you get to the interview. So there's an interview with like the board of education for the local, and a lot, like 9 times out of 10, they're like, okay, do you have any construction experience? And the kids go like, no, and they're like, okay, go be a stockman for 6 months, come back to us. So a lot of times kids, new people in the union get sent to be a stockman, to get that construction experience, to learn how to use a forklift, learn the parts, and all that stuff.
Understand the culture.
Yeah. And then the hard part, the con is, especially being a lifer, there's a lot of people that look down on you.
For what?
It's like, I don't know if it's a hierarchy thing. It's kind of hard to tell, but I've met some foremen that you can tell when you're talking to them, and journeymen, don't have to be foremen, and even apprentices, that they're like, oh, are you an apprentice, or are you a full-fledged journeyman? You're like, no. Are you getting in the apprenticeship? And you're like, no. And they're like, well, what are you doing? It's like they get so flabbergasted. They're like, you can journey out making, $65 an hour on the check. And it's like, that's super. That's great. That's awesome. Then, I've shot back sometimes. They're like, oh, are you good at acting? Are you going to be an actor? And they're like, no. I'm like, but you can make millions of dollars. So it's like, it's not my cup of tea, man.
It's not for everybody, right?
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
And and that's the cool thing. Like, you've been doing this for 6 years.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about the union, because you've been in unions and you now have experience on construction sites, you can go into other locals and other trades and try something out, and they're going to recognize that you've already had that experience. That's pretty cool, man.
Oh yeah.
What's something that someone who wants to get into, just let's say what you do, or even like looking at the apprenticeships, what's something they need to know to get in? Like something that somebody who has no idea about anything, and is curious about like electrical, or let's say curious about material handling, because that's a real job. People do that every single day. You look at like Amazon warehouses, people do that shit all the time.
Oh yeah. I'd say it's good to have forklift experience if you want to jump in as a stockman, because it kind of it's a plus when you go sit down and you go out for a company and you're like, oh, I can drive a forklift, and you have a card for it. You're valuable, so like, oh, let's keep this kid.
That's great.
You don't have to start from scratch. You have to go sit down and like an hour-long class on the computer.
How about this? What's something that you would tell your 18-year-old self now when it comes to what you're doing now? Like, would you recommend it? Would you say do something else? I mean, I'm curious.
I'd say do it all over again.
Do it all over, same thing?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good, man.
Yeah, so I say the same thing, because I did decide, because back on the stockman apprenticeship thing, I did decide I want to go for the apprenticeship.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of people that I work with for these 6 years on and off. And I tell them, they're like, oh, sweet. Well, I bet you're kicking yourself in the butt. You should have done this, 6 years ago. I'm like, no, I've learned a lot. I've learned my life experiences, different situations on the job site, whatever it may be, and now I want to do this, because 6 years ago, I did not. If I got thrown into it and I had no choice to be an electrician, I'd probably hate my life right now. I'd hate the job. I probably wouldn't put enough effort into it, just because I want to go into something the way I want to go into it,
Do you think that it requires a certain kind of personality for electricians or something? Because I feel like I've met a lot of them on the job site, and there's some similar characteristics, but obviously they're never going to be the same people. But
yeah, I
feel like it's a certain kind of personality. You know what I mean? Kind of like they say you have to be a certain kind of crazy to be a chef. Like, I mean, granted, I never fit that persona. I was definitely my own kind of crazy, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, with the stereotype with iron workers, you got to be so mean to be an iron worker kind of thing.
There's other stigmas about iron workers, but yeah.
I see it with I don't know. That's a hard one. I just feel like, I guess, electricians, there are a lot of characters. There's some.
I mean, you definitely work with them more than I do.
I do. I just say you have to have a backbone for the job site.
No matter what job you're doing.
Yeah,
I feel that
for the trade.
What did you do before you were a stockman? Like before you were in the union?
Okay, so
Oh, wait. Well, first question: how old are you?
27.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay, so yeah, this will be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. So my first job, I was a cart pusher or a courtesy clerk for Fred Meyer's.
Oh,
So that was interesting because I'm not always the best. Oh, I was not always the best people person. So going into a job where it's like I have to help push the grandma's groceries out and keep up small talk, whether she was like the really nice grandma, like the really really mean grandma, I had to keep smiling.
so always grandmas.
So, well, it doesn't have to be grandma. Sometimes it was people, grandmas, families with kids. Do you want to help out with your groceries? Oh, yes, please. Okay, I got 2 kids in my arms. I'm like, okay. So we, bring the groceries out and stuff. Cleaning was like a lot of janitorial work.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, believe it or not, it's a courtesy clerk. Got to clean the bathrooms, mop, all that jazz.
I feel that working in restaurants when you're bottom of the totem pole, it's a lot of that work. How about your favorite school favorite subject in school?
Oh gosh, science.
Science.
I like science. I liked astrology.
Astrology or astronomy? Because
Star-
astrology is horoscopes.
Oh.
Astronomy
No.
is the stars.
Astronomy. I like just the idea of space is always fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that great with math, so I never would aspire to be, NASA scientist. But I do like the mystery of the cosmos.
Yeah, dude, it's fantastic. Like, there's so much cool stuff going on out there, and there's so much cool stuff going on here.
Yeah.
We forget about that too. But yeah, I get what you're saying. That's really great. So science, any particular science, or just all of them?
Mostly all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, science was usually the class I paid the most attention to, and
Yeah.
usually got the better grades.
What was your favorite job?
So there was a middle job. If I can go back, if money wasn't a thing, if I can go back to it and I didn't have to worry about the bills, payments, and all that stuff, I worked for a bakery for Graveyard, and we did deliveries. It was a delivery crew. So I didn't do any baking and stuff like that, but it was fun because you go in. Usually somebody would be there before you, so they have the boombox going, and then it's like you get the huge packet of orders, and you go through. You just start packing all the restaurants. All the stores, their orders, retail, all that stuff, and it was fun. It was go, 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 but it was a whole lot of fun bullshitting. It was fun. I still miss it sometimes. All the people I used to work with, but that was my favorite job to this day.
I feel like the number one reason people say their favorite job was their favorite job is because of the people.
Yeah,
Isn't it? It's. I mean, a lot of the times the work can be fun because, like you said, the go 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 thing. Like I recognize that because I working in restaurants, but it's always the people.
Oh, yeah.
If you got to write a book, or someone wrote a book about you today, what would you call it? You had a title.
Someone wrote a book about me.
Either way, if someone wrote one like a biography or an autobiography, what would the title be?
Oh snap, that's a tough one. I don't know. I gotta think of something on the spot.
It's okay. We can come back to it. We'll circle around.
We might got to go back to that one because I don't want to be like super negative, but also don't want to do something too poppy.
What's your goal, man? What's your 5-year goal, or some kind of future marker that you have planned out? Like not a plan because plans fail, but a goal.
I do want to sell because I have a little condo. I want to sell that and get an actual house. Hopefully, when the market's lower, because I don't want to pay $1 million for like a really small house. That doesn't seem fair.
Welcome to Washington.
It's great. And then besides that, I would like to journey out as an electrician.
Okay.
Assuming I stick with it and I like it.
Yeah, you were mentioning that the other day that you're thinking about getting into it. I mean,
Yeah.
And life changes. Sometimes you want to try something different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get that.
Yeah, probably just journey out and then find my forever home.
That's
I guess you'd
great,
call
man.
it. So
Are you married?
no,
Oh,
no,
interesting.
yeah. So just making all the big strides myself. Right
You know what? That's not a bad thing to have a house before you find somebody. If you want something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, man. Okay, what are some myths or some truths about being a stockman? Because I'm sure there's a lot of electrical guys like,
Yeah. Some of the like myths, like, as in stereotypes, or
yeah, like some shit that people come up with, and it's not necessarily true.
lazy.
Lazy.
Well, I'm saying for being like a laborious job.
Yeah.
A lot of times the stereotype is that you're lazy, or you're only there to become an electrician or an apprentice.
Yeah.
So you're not there to try. You're just there for the hours, the experience,
Interesting.
essentially. And I'd say some truths behind that is 9 out of 10 times it's true. It's sad because a lot of people do use being a stockman is just that little jump up, get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
A lot of times too, it's like, you know, a dad who's a foreman will get their kid on to be an apprentice or for the apprenticeship, but they're a stockman first. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times too, on a job site, if you're working for your dad, you're kind of protected, so you can be lazy. I've seen it a number of times. I've seen a number of kids become a stockman with their dad or their mom, real high up in the companies, different companies, not just the one I work for, and they're kind of coddled. I'll admit it. So
I resent that word.
Yeah,
Coddle.
But no, it sucks. It's true, but not always true.
Yeah, that's fair. What's a trait or a strength for let's say IBEW, like someone who wants to get into electricians union, not necessarily being an electrician or a half watt or stockman, but some like if you're going to get in it, what's a good trait
to have?
Yeah, like if somebody's interested in it, like and they're like reviewing themselves before they fill out an application or something. What's something that they need to like make sure that they have a good thing to have in their their toolkit.
Like not
like personal skills or not literal physical tools, but like
yeah. No, I mean you gotta be ready. Just as any construction job, get dirty, lift. The typical lift 50 pounds. Most warehouse jobs or even what we do says you have to be able to lift a minimum of 50 pounds, but be prepared to throw your back out, but not really. Teamwork, team lift,
proper lifting
techniques.
Yeah, it's important, dude.
Yeah.
I tweaked my back before.
It's not fun.
It's not fun at all. What's your dream job then? If your favorite job was baking, what's your dream job? Because favorite and dream are not always the same. So
dream job, I would like to be something like real estate. I like to kind of. So I like to. I don't want to say interior designer because it's not that.
Okay.
But I like the idea of like setting up when I do my own house, like the man cave, right? Set it up. You bring in the bar. You set up the bar. I guess like a home, like renovator. Like you set up everything, something like that.
That would be like a custom renovations or something like that.
Yeah, but to do all the electrical with that too, it's like you go on, you got like the
kind of like all the lights. Yeah.
And then you have the fancy couch. You bring that all in. You set everything up. Wire up the TV.
Do you watch LTT at all?
I know what you're talking about.
Linus Tech Tips.
Yeah.
Any other preferences if that didn't ever work out? Like a backup idea. You know what I mean?
Physicist.
Physicist.
Yeah. I might not be good at math. I can give it a shot.
I mean, why not? You know, some people have a knack for that stuff.
Yeah.
What's the culture like? Being in the not just stockman, but like working with other people in your local.
In local 46.
Because I know, like we were saying, like iron workers are very specific kind of people, and I feel like carpenters. You can always tell a carpenter because they have really big arms and shoulders and a gut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they got all this lifting right here.
And then just.
Yeah. I don't know. It's I keep going back to it. It's like the same stigma on every job site. You get the different guys, but it's really, really rugged sometimes. Mm-hmm. You'll have the clique of guys that just are really, really quiet. They don't want to talk unless, like you're good friends, you have everything in common, then they kind of open up more. Mm-hmm. I want to say with electricians, there's not really one set.
Really?
One set culture.
Really?
Yeah. At least from my perspective. Because I'm a all over the place kind of guy. I'm like really goofy at work. I try to be goofy. I have fun. And I'll still walk up to the guy that's like really quiet and I know does not want to talk to me, and I'm still like, poke the bear.
Like it was on Friday. I was walking by you and what's his name, and he's like, "You want to go outside and fight?"
Marcos. No, so we me and Marcos, sorry, name drop. We started doing this thing because we go on tangents. We'll just start talking about an apple and somehow get to a Ferrari just out of random conversations. And one day we were sitting there like, you want to just like go get in a fake fight from the elevator and see what we can make happen. And we're like, okay. So we went to wait at the elevator and we click the button, up on 2, and we're waiting. And then one of the elevator doors open, they're going down, and we just start arguing. And now it's the new daily thing. So you walk by that, it was me and him literally just not even mad at each other, but we're talking like we're mad at each other. It's fun. It gets people to turn around and be like, what?
Oh, that's great, man.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Simon. I don't know if you remember Simon. He was in the last episode, the beardy one. He had a couple questions for you.
Oh shoot.
He wanted to know, because you've been doing this for 6 years now. Mm-hmm. What are some of the strangest scenarios that you've experienced or like seen on the job site?
Ooh.
Like something really like, what? Seriously? Like nothing like death or anything, like, because obviously that stuff's terrible and happens. But
like really squirrely stuff is what you're asking?
Squirrely or weird or what in the world? Something that just like blow your mind a little bit.
So I can't say any names.
No,
I
you don't
can't
have to.
say
What
job site this is, because everyone at this job knows who it was. But we had a journeyman that was injured, so he's on light duty. But I worked at the airport, so you have to have an escort there.
Yeah.
You have a badge, and someone doesn't have a badge, they're escorted and all that stuff. But specifically with electricians with finished electric rooms, mm-hmm. if a non-certified personnel wants to go in there, they have to have an electrician with them. So they're doing the final cleaning to turn the airport over, at least that section of it. Mm-hmm. And he went in there, to watch all the final cleaners clean out down all the tops, sides of the transformers and stuff. And but he was super trusting, and I guess he was just playing on his phone, and then one of the cleaners accidentally hit one of the breakers and turn off power to all the restaurants right above them. So for an hour upstairs, they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Everyone's freaking out trying to find out what happened, and then they finally made their way down the electric room and found the breaker had been hit. So they hit it back up, and that turned into a fiasco. It's silly, but it's
also like, what the F?
Yeah, what happened? So that's one. I'm trying to think of another one that.
Some crazy shit.
I'm trying to think of some real. Mainly the airport. Yeah, the airport was a hell of a job.
What's leadership like? Working for not just for the one you work for now. I don't want to talk any smack about companies, but just in general, what's it like working with people in charge in electrical unions, at one as your position, and two just in general. I mean,
so I love it. I've actually put myself into this job, so I can't say the same for another person who might be a stockman who mm-hmm. just kind of is half here to be an apprentice. They might have excuse me, is positive experiences, but I don't think I've ever worked for a foreman or a GF that's more in excuse me, in
You're
charge.
Good. Maybe you need a beverage.
Do need a beverage.
I was waiting for you to get there, because we have 3 more sitting here. We have to.
Oh snap! You finish yours. Give me a minute.
Yeah, no worries.
But I've never had any bad experiences. I think the leadership is very healthy, as long as everyone's pretty much trying to get along. Mm-hmm. I know usually if people start butting heads, things go kind of sideways and skewed. But for my company, mm-hmm. I love it. So
how about safety? What's the safety culture like with Vecca or with electrical companies? Because I know it's extremely different. Because you guys, electricians can just die. Yeah. Straight up. I mean, anybody can, but I'm saying
yeah, you go in to energize
it scares people away.
It does. It really does. Because my dad's an electrician. He's been doing it a long time, so I always hear his stories growing up and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're doing that? It's scary, but finish this. I think the safety culture is actually pretty good.
That's great.
They're really honest, even for the small stuff. You can be, obviously, the little, if you're doing trying to screw on a bolt to a nut, whatever, and you have to take your gloves off, they're not gonna bark at you. But for anything else, they're pretty on top of it to try to keep us all alive.
Now that you're finishing that one, I'm gonna break out one that I was kind of curious about, because I love this brewery. I've actually purposely ridden my bike to Whittenfield to go to this place with friends. It's called Black Raven Brewery, and I'm not usually an IPA person, but I love that sound in the microphone.
It's nice.
It's so nice. But this is their West Coast IPA. And I figured, because this is when I run out of questions, because when you're talking to 2 people, it's a little different than talking to 1 person, because it feels a lot shorter now.
Yeah.
But we'll transition into something else. But this is the official beer of Seattle Beer Week, apparently. It's a modern take on West Coast IPA, 50-50 split between Pilsner and Pale Malt, providing a clean and crisp pedestal to showcase the trio of hops, which are Nectaron, Galaxy, and Madarina Bavaria. Huh.
I want to know who writes those.
I do too.
Because it seems very sophisticated.
Intense tropical fruit. It's always tropical fruit. I don't know why. I think it's the only thing that a lot of times can contrast the bitterness and overly hoppiness of some IPAs. but like almost always tropical fruit.
Yeah.
You know, borders of citrus, always citrus. Balancing hint of the traditional pine, which you always get with IPAs.
Yep.
And resinous notes of West Coast IPAs are known for. So like your basic generic West Coast IPA. All right, I'll do yours first.
Oh, thank you very much.
Of course, man.
No, it reminds me of like Napoleon Dynamite when he's doing the milk drinking taste
gosh.
testing. It's like, this cow got into some onions. I'm just like, how do you taste that?
Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible. I like the color.
Yeah.
It's a little more of a like amber color versus the last one, which is just, I mean, it was kind of a light haze. That just makes me think of Anchorman. Oh, milk was a bad choice.
I like that one.
It's not, so most of the time, like I said, they almost always taste the same. It's not overwhelmingly bitter and overwhelmingly hoppy. It's actually right. It's like a cross between like a pale malt and a pilsner.
Yeah, there's not much hops in that at all, but it tastes good. I like it.
It's like light on the fruitiness and light on the bitterness, but good on the body. Highly recommended. Well, it's recommended. I wouldn't say highly, but it's
7 out of 10 stars.
That's pretty good. What is some really cool bars that you've been to? Like bars that you would want to frequent, or you have frequented.
So there's one down in, I guess it's Des Moines. It's right before Kent, Des Moines. It's called JJ's. I like that one. It's got a couple pool tables. I'm a big pool guy.
Are you?
Yeah.
We just played pool on Friday.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm not. So I say this, don't like, oh my gosh, he's amazing. But I used to do league for a bit. My buddy invited me because I grew up playing pool. I was like this tall when we moved into my grandparents' house for a certain amount of time. Yeah. And they had a pool table, and I was like, "Oh, Grandpa, let me play." And he's like, "Yeah, no, you're too short. Like you got to be like yay high to play on my pool table," because he didn't want me running the pool stick into the vinyl. Anyway, so I grew up watching people play pool, and then when I was finally tall enough to play, I already knew exactly what I was doing, all the angles, and I felt for like a 6-year-old I was super good, and I played all the way up until recent, not at my grandpa's house, but I'd always played pool. So then my buddy hit me up, and he's like, "Hey, I know you were a pool shark like back in the day." He's like, "Do you want to play league?" And I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Okay, let's meet up, let's talk about it. This Tuesday's one of their games." I'm like, "Okay." So I thought I was just showing up for like, an interview or there to test my abilities. And I show up, and they're like, "You got a pool stick, cool." They're like, "Okay, so you're playing this person. They're like I forgot the rankings. It's like they're a 3. You're a 5 since you haven't played before." And I'm like, "What are you guys talking about?" They're like, "League." I'm like, "Wait, I'm on the team?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm just like, I thought I had to like. You guys would have test me. They're like, "Jason vouched for you," and I was like, "Oh boy." So I played like the first league night there, and I think I won like 2 out of 3 games, because we did like 2 games at 8-ball, then there was like a game at 9-ball, I think. But it was pretty much just kind of thrown into it. And I was just like, dang. I'm only really good when I pay attention.
Do you want people to find you on the internet, and if so, where can they find you?
Recently deleted my Facebook, and I don't really use Instagram, Snapchat like that.
All right.
So I'm incognito.
That tends to be a theme with tradespeople, I've noticed. Like, they're not really into sharing where they're at.
Yeah, but I really got off Facebook because it's always political and really
nonsense.
Dark, negative. It's like the news. Nothing's happening on the news anymore. Nothing was happening on Facebook.
All right.
So.
Well, good to know.
You can find me on the job site.
As you should. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is Potatoes Over Roses. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
I just realized I screwed up. I didn't make you potatoes.
That's fine.
Give me a second.
I feel like I'm on the spot. Knock, knock. I feel like I'm supposed to do something.
I also have Seattle dogs. They have cream cheese, onions, and jalapenos built in. Do you want some?
I'll do one of those.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you. How are you? Good.